Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. Real Madrid failed to end Barcelona's dominance in the Copa del Rey, falling 3-0 at the Santiago Bernabeu. How did Barcelona do it? Where did Real Madrid go wrong? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to briefly break down how Barcelona defeated Real Madrid. So before we get into today's video, don't forget to give our video a thumbs up if you do enjoy it. The bell below does give you daily notifications regarding our organic, unfiltered soccer/footy analysis. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. In today's video, we're going to break down the first half, see how Real Madrid were able to contain Barcelona and where they were able to create chances. Then move to the second half and see how Barcelona were able to score 3 goals and Real Madrid's Copa del Rey run. But first, let's get to the starting lineups. We look at Real Madrid 4-3-3, Lucas Vázquez, Benzema, and Vinicius Jr. up front. In midfield, no real surprises here, Kroos, Modric, and Casemiro. Then we get to Barcelona, more of a 4-4-2, Suarez and Messi up front. Out in the wider areas, Dembele and Sergio Roberto, and in midfield, Rakitic and Busquets. So now let's get to the first half, see how Real Madrid approached the game and how they were able to carve open Barcelona's defense. When we look at the opening half, it's very difficult to really break down how Real Madrid went into halftime 0-0. They were the better side for large portions of the game. A lot of it started with the way that they did approach it without the ball. We saw them try to press from the front, but more importantly, they clogged out the zones where Barcelona could really gain advantages. We start from the left-hand side. We have Dembele. He was trying to obviously push into more narrow positions to allow Jordi Alba to push forward. Lucas Vázquez tracked Jordi Alba very well down that left-hand side. And whenever Dembele tried to move into central positions to drop off into spaces, you had Carvajal pushing out there to ensure that he wasn't able to turn and run at goal. Dembele probably was one of their most influential players throughout the game. And in the first half, they looked like they were trying to get him to run at Carvajal, but it never really led to any dangerous goal-scoring threats, and that was one of the big key things for Real Madrid in that opening half. Suarez not really involved as well. Varane stuck to him. Sergio Ramos was more of the free man. On the right-hand side for Barcelona, it was Lionel Messi, who, when he did drop off into central positions, it allowed Sergio Roberto to push higher, but he was often occupied by Reguilon, and whenever Roberto tried to drop off into those midfield zones, you would see Messi interchange and move into those areas as well. It's kind of difficult to pinpoint why Messi wasn't as great as you normally expect him, but there was nothing that Real Madrid specifically did that really took him out of the game. It just wasn't really going for him that night. He wasn't really involved. But when you think about it, Sergio Roberto's role was key here, but he often played a bit too high. Reguilon was able to close him out of the game, but that was obviously to allow Messi to drift into central areas. So that was kind of the ploy for them. The problem with that was that it allowed Casemiro to step to him, and it allowed Real Madrid to close out midfield zones, because with that being said, with Reguilon stepping to Sergio Roberto when he did take up those wider positions, it would allow Kroos to step to Busquets, and Rakitic and Modric were always up against each other. So Real Madrid, when they did look to press from the front or close down positions, they had the key players man marked, because Carvajal, the fullbacks would stick to Sergio Roberto and Dembele. The midfield zones were clear with Messi marked out by Casemiro, and Barcelona's midfielders were closed down in that regard as well. So that's how they were going about it in that sense, and they were able to close down key players, and Barcelona really struggled to create chances. There wasn't much of that Messi-Alba combination. We did see it on one occasion where Alba clipped the ball actually into Messi making the darting run, peeling off Modric. And we saw Messi peel off Modric and drift into that left channel, but he instantly volleyed the effort through the box and no one really got onto it. But Messi, obviously, although we say that he wasn't that great on the night, he was involved in some of their better moves. We had Busquets play the ball in between Kroos and in between Casemiro for Messi, who dropped off and held off Casemiro. And before a runner could come across in Lucas Vázquez to close that space down, he slid the ball into Dembele, and Dembele's cross to the far post fell to Luis Suarez, who nodded it into the path of Sergio Roberto in the box free, but Reguilon came across to ensure that Roberto didn't have a point-blank range effort on goal. And another opportunity that we did see Lionel Messi get involved is when Alba played it into him in the pocket from the touchline, and he was able to gain a yard on Modric and slide it across Carvajal for Dembele, but his cross through the box evaded everyone. So that was kind of how Barcelona went about things. Now when we get to Real Madrid, the difference that we did see between them and Barcelona is that when Real Madrid didn't have the ball, they dropped off into their base 4-5-1. Barca moved to their 4-4-2 as expected. And what happened here was that Real Madrid were able to pull them out of position and find advantages mostly down the left-hand side. Why was that? Well, when they dropped off into that space, you didn't expect much from Suarez or Messi in terms of dropping back to help them out. So there were numerical disadvantages for Barcelona. Down the left-hand side, Dembele had to tuck in a bit narrow because Luka Modric was free. What we did see was obviously Rakitic did step to him, but we had Casemiro who was free on a few occasions, and Busquets would step in that regard. But Dembele was mostly responsible for Carvajal and did a good job there. So you have Rakitic against Modric. You have Busquets sometimes stepping out to Casemiro when need be, but you had Sergi Roberto on the right-hand side dealing with Toni Kroos, who did drop off deeper. With that being said, if Messi isn't dropping off into that space, now you kind of have a 3v2 in that situation, and Real Madrid, more so in the second half, we'll get to that, did exploit Barcelona down that side. So what we did see often was Vinicius and on a few occasions earlier on, pulling out Semedo. One time he dropped off deeper and he dummied the ball and allowed Reguilón to push forward on the overlap. On another occasion, he made a nifty dart in between those center backs into the box, and he was pulled down, and it was arguably a penalty call when you look at that. But when you break down their chances here, a lot of it stemmed down the left-hand side. The first one was Casemiro hitting a diagonal ball into the left channel, and what we see is Reguilón push forward because Roberto's kind of caught here now. Roberto obviously tucks in to deal with Kroos, but no one is picking up Reguilón, and there was space for him to break forward, so that diagonal goes out to him. We eventually see we see Roberto recover that run, and we see Vinicius move over to Piqué, but Benzema drops off into the space where Roberto was and then links play to Vinicius. Benzema continues his run, which is why Piqué kind of drops off. Vinicius turns and fires a shot over the net. We look to another opportunity where it's Reguilón beating Semedo to a 50-50 and sliding the ball across Piqué for Benzema, who runs across him and beats Lenglet. And when he beats Lenglet, he plays across into the box that Jordi Alba intervenes, but he knocks it into the path of Vinicius, and Vinicius pokes his effort on goal. That's another opportunity that we see stemming down that left-hand side. We saw Piqué push forward, Casemiro step in, and then slide the ball in between Semedo and Lenglet for Vinicius, who should finish here when he drifts out to the left channel. Takes a bit too long. Lenglet blocks the shot, but he tees up Benzema, and Ter Stegen makes a quality save there. So those are three opportunities where we see Vinicius get into good opportunities that he should score. The final one is more a breakdown of the pressing. What we do see here is Rakitic stepping to Modric. We have Busquets stepping to Casemiro, and Modric ends up dropping off the ball to Carvajal. And what Carvajal does is he locates Kroos, who is free, with Messi kind of stepping towards him a bit late. So he plays the ball to Kroos. Messi doesn't get there on time, and we see Casemiro run off Busquets. When he runs off Busquets, now he has a free midfield to run through, and he slides the ball in between Roberto and Semedo for Reguilón breaking forward. And he pulls the ball back into Vinicius between the center backs, but Vinicius has to hit the ball from behind, and what happens is that he drags it over the net. When you break down that first half as a whole, both sides were able to find their key chances down the left-hand side, but Real Madrid had a more legitimate route to goal because they had to overload in those positions, and they were able to get Vinicius and Reguilón forward because Sergio Roberto needed cover in that zone. So with that being said, now we have to look to Barcelona, see what changes they would make and how they were able to score 3 goals in the second half. So when we briefly break down the second half, we look at Barcelona dropping off a bit more deeper as Real Madrid applied more pressure. They were in the 4-4-2. Like I said, Casemiro wasn't really going forward much in the second half, and that did balance out things for Barcelona because Roberto was still tasked with stepping to Kroos and Rakitic was following Modric. However, when we break things down, both sides did find outlets down the wide areas, but Barcelona were just simply more efficient in the final third, which is no surprise given the talent that they do have up front. We look at the build-up to their opening goal. It's Lenglet simply playing the ball out wide to Jordi Alba. When he plays the ball out wide to Jordi Alba, you do have a marker step out to him and Lucas Vazquez. And when Vazquez steps to him, you do see Dembele pull out Carvajal. As that happens, you see Dembele quickly wrap around Carvajal and Alba plays the ball across them. So when that happens, you see Dembele making the run in, Carvajal tracking, trying to track, Varane coming across as well, and he splits both of the markers for Suarez breaking into the box. Ramos steps a bit late. Superb finish from Luis Suarez, but just a simple play. Simple bang out to the fullback, wraps it around, combination play, and they're able to build out from that and take the lead. But when you look at how Real Madrid were trying to go about it, it's kind of the same thing, but just lacking that final piece of quality in the final third. Because when you look to their opening chance, it is Cruz dropping off a bit deeper to get on the ball. He predominantly operated in that left pocket of space throughout the second half. He pulls out Sergio Roberto, who ends up sliding the ball to Reguilon, and Reguilon is able now to get the ball, and he pulls out Semedo, and now you have Vinicius against PK, ball poked out to him. What we do see here is that Vinicius does dummy it and get around Piqué, and as he drives into the box to try to play the cross, and Busquets tracks it well to block that play. But like I said, we kind of see what they're all about. Casemiro clips a diagonal ball out to Reguilon, and now we see Semedo break forward and try and close him down. And why does that happen? Because with Cruz playing a bit forward, you have Roberto stepping to him, so there's space for Reguilon to push forward. He's able to get the better of his marker there in Semedo, deliver a cross into the box. And when he delivers that cross into the box, we see Lucas Vazquez break for it. But what happens here now is that when Vazquez breaks for it, you have Vinicius near Piqué, but we have Lenglet and Alba do both go at it, and that ball goes through the box as Barcelona are able to clear it. Shortly after that, Luka Modric gets involved, sliding the ball out to Vinicius, who is now able to take on his marker in Semedo 1v1. Like I said, not much service here for Semedo, and we have Reguilon breaking in between the two center backs. We have Vinicius cutting out centrally, then cutting back towards the byline, clipping the ball between the two center backs for Reguilon, forces Ter Stegen into a save. The final opportunity that kind of sums up their overload down that side is when we see Cruz drop off a bit deeper and Sergio Roberto instantly swarm him, and you have Messi there as well. And what happens here is that Reguilon holds his position on that touchline, which forces Semedo to him initially, or he has to watch him. Vinicius from a narrow position drops off, and he gets the ball in between that split, is able to turn Busquets, and then run at Piqué with Semedo coming across, and he's able to wrap around Semedo. Piqué slides in, but he's able to cut past him, but he pokes his effort wide. As you could see, when Luis Suarez got his opportunity, he was able to convert. Vinicius, Reguilon, they're both young players on the rise, but they are unable to offer that clinical finishing that Luis Suarez does. And shortly after that, we see more great wing play from Barcelona after Gareth Bale did come on for Lucas Vazquez. We see this time Piqué stepping forward ahead of Benzema, and he's able to slide the ball in between Benzema and in between Toni Kroos, who for some reason did step out a bit higher, and he slides it into Busquets, who slides the ball out to Semedo. And when Semedo gets the ball in that position, we saw Dembele instantly move out to the right-hand side. It was a brief, temporary move out to the right, and he makes the run in behind Reguilon for that ball to be clipped into that space, and he instantly notices that Ramos is out of position, and with Ramos out of position, you have Suarez peeling off Carvajal, and Varane breaking in with Casemiro, delivers a superb cross through the 6-yard box. Suarez attacks it, Varane guides it into the net, and that's how they're able to double their lead, and they get the third goal. Simple cross into the box. Cruz trying to play Carvajal, who tries to run in behind Rakitic. He nods into Jordi Alba, and again, that space down that channel is open. Alba clips it into there. Suarez is able to run onto it and force a foul from Casemiro as he drops his shoulder. Suarez converts the penalty. Barcelona up 3-0 with 20 minutes to go, and that was the end of the tie. But when you break things down as a whole, you saw where Real Madrid are trying to get that overload. You saw how they were able to exploit Sergio Roberto, and Barcelona, besides Lionel Messi wasn't really involved. They were trying to play down the left-hand side, but didn't really get things going until the second half, where you could kind of blame Real Madrid for falling asleep and not doing the basic defending that they need to do in terms of closing down men, and Barcelona made them pay with ruthless finishing. But let me know what you guys think. Does this loss define Real Madrid's season as a failure? And what about Barcelona? Are they on course to win another treble? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.